All right, so we've got our sword. Hopefully this is a quick one to show you how to get it out of here. And there's one thing that I want you to do before you do that. I want you to import the low res. Now, what I used to do is have you duplicate the low res before you do the high res, but I didn't do it this time, so we're going to do it this way. I'm going to delete this one just so you remember how to do it. Come over into any cylinder, turn it into a polymesh 3D. Make sure I'm on a polymesh 3D because I can't import anything from the FBX import export without the polymesh 3D. I'm going to import. I'm going to go find my Gladius low, open, and there it is. Then I'm going to go to my high, and I'm going to say insert, and grab the Gladius low that I just imported and put it in the same place. The reason I do this is because ZBrush is funny about how they how the scale works between programs, so I just like to do it this way to cover all the bases. Okay, so then you're going to export both of them. So pretty much easy for this one, right? So let me rename it here just in case. Make sure these both say, one says high and one says low, like that, underscore. There's actually a way to make it work inside of Substance Painter. So you only have to drop these in and they'll automatically know. But for now, we're not going to worry about that. But if you keep your consistent naming convention like this, your life will be easier. So I'm going to say export with the low selected, export, and make sure it says selected, and then leave everything else default. Then I'm going to come in here. And what I like to do is when I export stuff, I like to say underscore Z. So I know where it came from, basically. And then if I go back out of max, I usually say max or something. Anyway, so now I've got the low res and I've got the low res. Now I need the high res. Let's take a look at this high res real quick. It's super, super dense. Now, honestly, 1.7 million is not a big deal, but I want to show you how to down res it without killing the actual model, even though this model is kind of crap. How do we do that? We go to the same place in the plugins. If you don't have it open, then all you have to do is come over to the plugins drop down and click on a little dot, and it'll push it over here. And then inside the plugins, there's a thing called Decimation Master. And we're going to open that up, and we're going to look at our sword real quick, and we're going to say preprocess current. It's going to take us a few seconds. This is the long part. After this, we can change the percentage of the sword we want to keep. And there's barely any processing to it because it does all the calculations for everything. Right now, obviously, the bigger the mesh, the more processing it's going to take. But you'll see the loading going on as we go. Up at the top. All right. Then I'm going to come here and I'm going to look at this. When I do this, I want to look and see how much detail I lose. Right. So I'm going to look at this and go, okay, this really crappy sword that we did here. I'm going to say decimation of 20, which is default. I'm going to say decimate current. Okay, so it says it's decimated. It's done, and it dropped down to 340,913 from 1 million. So let's look at that again. I'm going to go back. This is the 1,000,007 one, and this is the 300,000 one. Not a huge difference. So I probably can go lower. Let's see what it did first real quick. I'm going to go look at the polygons. It did this. Definitely not a way we could build, so you can understand why we don't just do it this way. So I'll go Shift F to get out of there real quick. Come back out. Oops, do that. F. And if you try and model now, you're going to get weird stuff. So you don't want to model when it's like this. This is the last thing you do. So I'm going to go down to 10. Oop, not 48, but 10. And see what we get. Well, it's 170. I'm not really seeing huge changes. I'll go back. And then that's 340, forward, 170, nothing. So let's do 5. It's a pretty simple shape, so I'm expecting it to go pretty low. All right, now I start to see stuff. Now, one thing you have to remember about ZBrush is it doesn't have smoothing groups, so what we're actually always seeing is the polygons. So if I look up here, you'll see these are the polygons it's making. Anyway, you know, bring it under 100,000. That'd be great if you can when you're doing it. So it's just 100,000 right here, and then I'm going to say back to my export, import, and I'm going to say export selected, and I'm going to make sure it's named Gladius High right there, and then I'm going to say export. This will destroy your UV unwrap too, by the way, so don't think it's going to keep it. And I'm going to say hi underscore Z just because I'm used to it. That, well, actually, let's leave. Yeah, we'll just do it for now. Until you get used to doing this, I'd like to keep these around anyway. All right, so now it's exported. It's a lot faster than it would have been if I was doing it the other way. Now, if I open up Substance, I don't think I have that sword. All right, so I have this open. I just pulled up the sword and threw some textures on it that looked really crappy, but they work. So we're gonna bake it now. See, this is what we had without any of the other bakes on, without the with just the standard low res stuff going on. We want to actually through that bake we have. So we're gonna go in here, say bake mesh maps, just like this. We're gonna select that and say hi, and then bake, and then we're gonna pick that. Don't worry about the ID. If it's on, you can leave it on. You're just gonna get an error message. If you don't want it to have that error message, just turn it off. It doesn't change anything. And then we'll bake. And now all that detail we cut in to our sword will show up. Now, it's up to you at this point if you want to add detail and to the work that you just did to all this stuff, or if you want to leave it this way. At this point, I'm not requiring it. All right, and we'll go from there. And that's it. And then the next video is going to show you how to do some other fun stuff.